All right. Hey, good morning, folks. Once again, we are back taking a look at the tropics. Today is Wednesday, August 30th, 2023, and we are witnessing the current landfall of now Category 3 Hurricane Ida on an absolute final approach to the coast of Florida. The towns of Perry and other towns nearby near the landfall point are getting absolutely hammered right now by Major Hurricane Idalia. Was a Category 4 earlier this morning, but an eye wall replacement cycle actually began very close to land, and that's caused a ever so slight 5-mile-an-hour reduction in the maximum winds, which now appears that this will make landfall in the books officially as a Category 3 hurricane. This is a very powerful hurricane this morning, and definitely major impacts are being felt today through the Florida's Big Bend region, and it's going to spread quickly into parts of Georgia, northern Florida, and South Carolina throughout the day today. Let's go ahead and go to the current radar. We're actually going to switch over to my Radar Scope app this morning. So this is the eye of Idalia this morning, basically starting to make landfall. We have the western eye wall coming ashore very close to Perry, Florida, and the eastern eye wall, though it doesn't have a lot of rain associated with it right now, there's a bit of a dry slot right here. Steinhatchee is absolutely getting hammered with that drier slot, and actually that could be a radar attenuation problem. We very well might have rainfall there too. Let's see. Let's switch over to Jacksonville and see. Okay, yeah, so we do have the yeah, so Jacksonville's a little further away. So that was actually the radar. Tallahassee's radar was blocked by the western eye wall, so it wasn't showing that eastern eye wall as clear. So the eastern eye is coming in just to the north of Steinhatchee. So incredible storm surge is coming into this region right now this morning. Notice how the storm rotates. That's where all the water is being pushed right into Steinhatchee and the counties to the north and south. And Perry is about to get that western eye wall, and that more intense western eye wall is actually a bit stronger than the eastern eye wall, where those deeper convective cloud tops were, and there is no doubt a nasty, violent windstorm ongoing right now in these coastal counties. The landfall will be imminent once the eye actually crosses the middle of the eye, crosses land. So within probably the next hour, the Hurricane Center will declare a landfall. A heavy shield of rain is stretching up into parts of north central Florida into Tallahassee, where heavy bands on the outside of the storm are moving in, likely strong tropical storm conditions occurring. And then several feeder bands are moving in this morning to parts of northern Florida. We've got a band right now in McClinney, Stark, moving into Clay and parts of western Duval and some of Nassau counties. Another band moved offshore. And we've got these rotating bands. These will have the ability to produce heavy rainfall and tornadoes as well as bring down some heavier wind gusts when they come through. The storm is going to move in and move generally to the north and to the east. It's going to cross Georgia and get into South Carolina over the next while. So let's go ahead and go back to the latest in the National Hurricane Center again. Right now, the 5 a.m. advisory had it at 130 miles an hour, which is Category 4, but the latest update, because the Hurricane Center does hourly updates or even sometimes less than hourly updates, they currently are holding the winds at 125 at landfall. Again, this does not mean anything for the actual impacts on land, 3 versus 4, but it just simply happens to be where the categories change. It's all academic for the most part. This is a large, powerful hurricane. Again, a central pressure of 947 millibars. If you see a 4 or lower there, it's bad. That is just the way to think about it. It's a powerful, nasty hurricane. So this will be, again, this will make landfall here in a little while. We'll refresh real quick just to see. So yeah, not yet, not quite yet. All right, let's go ahead and look at some of the latest conditions across the region. Out towards the west, out in Keystone, they're getting some heavy rain right now. Wind gusts about 25 miles an hour. Further out towards Lake City, they're gusting at about 30 miles an hour. Last check, Mayport had a peak wind of 35 miles an hour. Some of the Mayport bases out further have been seeing 40s near the coast in St. Augustine and some of the other coastal observation sites out towards Middleburg. We're looking at about 20 miles per hour right now with some light rain and some low ceilings, and Mayport again taking about 30, 35. So that's kind of what we're looking at the last hour across Northeast Florida. It's going to go downhill later today. I'm going to show you the NAM-NEST model to kind of show you what to expect throughout the morning hours. So this computer model shows you a by hour forecast breakdown, and it is unfortunately in Zulu time, which a lot of people aren't familiar with, but on the East Coast, you're going to take 4 hours off this. So it's military time and it's Zulu. So this is 4 hours off and converted to a standard time. So I'll do it for you. 12Z is 8 o'clock in the morning local. So this is within about an hour or so of the recording. You can see the wind gusts will be picking up into the low 40s, but that heavier winds will be moving in from the west. So you'll start seeing the more western counties will get that going into 8 o'clock. This is 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock. By 11 o'clock in the morning, you can see the heavier the heavier winds have moved in. And this will be broken up into intermittent bands of heavy rain. So again, you can see the structure of the hurricane is these 2 or 3 or 4 bands that come through. So it'll kind of slack off. There'll be long periods where it doesn't rain today, and then it'll be some heavy rain, and the gustier winds will be called down in these bands. So that's kind of what you can expect, and that really begins in earnest at about 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning. You can see where the 50-mile-an-hour wind gusts come into play, and I do expect these to verify because we actually saw that double eye, that outer ring structure, which will that eye wall replacement will try to push those winds out further away from the core. It won't make a tremendous difference. You're not going to get hurricane force winds or anything crazy, but I do think these 50 forecasts are going to verify. So again, this is 15Z. This is at 11 o'clock in the morning, and this is kind of the peak of the hurricane. 12, 1, 2, 3. As the hurricane is crossing into South Georgia, this is the closest point of approach to Jacksonville. So the wind gusts will sustain in the 50-mile-an-hour range from about 11 to, I'm going to tell you, 11 a.m. to about 4 or 5 p.m. That's going to be your chunk of, okay, this is the, where it's going to pick up the most. Again, you can see this donut of even higher winds kind of never comes any closer than this, so it kind of stays just away from the counties. Again, take the storm, take it 50 miles east, all this comes in, you're talking about a much different hurricane. So once again, Jacksonville, it appears you're going to get out the last minute. You're going to get the 11th minute reprieve from the governor, but once again, this could still have been a much worse storm than it was going to be, but it's 50-mile-an-hour winds are nothing to screw with. It's going to be a nasty day, and some of these bridges are going to close. It's going to be one of those things to watch carefully. Rainfall totals are really not impressive. Weather Prediction Center's latest outlooks really showing an inch or less for a lot of folks. I mean, out further west, you start getting into the heavier rainfall totals, but most of this rain is going to stack up in Georgia and South Carolina thanks to that cold front coming in to kind of focus that tropical moisture, which is going to kind of rob you guys of some of the fun. So, like I said, it will rain heavy at times, but it'll be brief. It'll be brief, heavy, gusty, and then it'll probably be long lulls where it's not too bad. Then it'll pick up again. Then it'll be more lulls. But it's going to be kind of an off and on sort of day, and that rainfall is no exception. But again, not expecting a major flooding event for this. Not expecting a lot of coastal flooding. Not expecting a lot of heavy rainfall. It's very localized flooding where a band happens to train a little longer, but again, not expecting a widespread rainfall event. As we move further out to the rest of the area, oh, I guess before I leave Jacksonville, I'll go ahead and note that there is a tornado watch for the entire peninsula of Florida, basically from Lake Okeechobee northward. This is all throughout the state, and these heavy rain bands swirling in behind Idalia will cause heavy rain. They will cause tornadoes, rather, throughout the morning. So a tornado watch extends all the way to parts of Augusta and the border with South Carolina. And South Carolina will probably get one later this afternoon, but most of South and Southeast Georgia, all of northern and northern central Florida's peninsula, and all the way out to near Tallahassee have tornado watches. The tornado watches drop off to the west of the eye. The dynamics change over here, so you won't have tornadoes on the back side of the hurricane, but on the front side of the hurricane, you will have them. It's photographs and a lot of stuff to explain, but there is a good risk of tornadoes. Again, the low risk of high-end tornadoes, TF2+, but this is definitely a good risk of some smaller tornadoes that are going to bounce in and out of these bands. So please have ways to get alerts regarding that. Rest of the forecast area, guys, I mean, this is going to carry some heavy wind gusts all throughout Georgia, all throughout South Carolina and North Carolina, or especially along that cold frontal boundary. Look at this focal point for plenty of tropical storm force winds extending all the way through North Carolina. Even though the track takes it back off South Carolina, still a heavy amount of impacts, because this is going to be tangling up in that trough and that other frontal system. So you're going to have a lot of impacts that are well away from the coast. So if you're inland in any of this part of South or North Carolina, you're going to get a nasty storm as it comes through there too. Don't think, oh, well, I'm not living in the water. I'm not living in the Big Bend, so I'm fine. Like, no, you're going to get a screaming tropical storm when it comes through, and a lot of heavy rain is going to also be coming with this too. I can zoom out and show you the WPC charts and look at how much. I mean, yeah, I just showed you these light blues and nothings. Basically, this is where all the rain went. It all came up here, 6 to 10 inches of rain for a lot of folks. I mean, look at the heaviest rain. It's not even at the coast where the hurricane's eye is going to be. It's going to be on that back side of the hurricane, again, where that cold front is, and that's going to focus that rainfall, and it's going to cause that focus point for the storm to just dump tremendous amount of rain. You have this shallow, cool air mass sitting here, and then you have it just being absolutely overrun with deep tropical moisture, and you physically lift that tropical moisture up, and that causes an absolute ass mountain of rain, and that's where you're going to see that with this. So that's kind of the latest this morning, guys. Again, the tornado threat's going to carry all the way up into parts of North Carolina's coastline throughout the morning. The tornado threat is located more towards the coast than inland. So again, the heavy rain is more like here. The tornado threat's further south. The wind threat is kind of mixed in. Again, hurricane force winds possible all the way to Charleston, South Carolina, all through Savannah, all through southeast Georgia. But again, missing Jacksonville by a little bit. But a lot of folks down here are going to get some really nasty winds from this. Storm surge is no doubt catastrophic this morning, where that eye is making landfall again right around Steinhatchee, Perry. You are getting a colossal storm surge, and that water is going to pile up for hours to come before it begins to recede. So the storm surge has not likely peaked yet, but it is happening right now as we speak. That's kind of what I got for you this morning, guys. I will tell you that there's been some talk of Idalia leaving the coastline and then like coming back. You're going to see some idiots on social media talk about some loop back towards Florida. Right now, that is not the official forecast. It's very, very unlikely to happen. Idalia is likely to not fully just leave and go to sea and not be a problem. It looks like the trough picking it up is going to leave without it, and it's going to kind of cause it to kick down towards Bermuda and kind of sit off the U.S. coast for a good little while. The GFS model here shows us leaving the coast this weekend and then just kind of looping and sitting around offshore, lost for several days. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on this. But right now, we'll cross that bridge later on. Let's get this thing in and out of here, and we'll go from there. But anyone telling you it's going to loop back and hit Florida a second time, they don't know what they're talking about. So I would not worry about it. So anyway, guys, that's what I got for you this morning. Big landfall, near historic landfall, a major Category 3 hurricane coming into a region that's very not accustomed to them, and there will be some very devastating impacts when that eye comes ashore, and some very heavy weather is going to spread northwards. Jacksonville, it's going to pick up for you guys in the next 2 or 3 hours. The worst of your weather today is going to be about 11 a.m., 10, 11 to about 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. Then it should be slacking off from there. And again, that period is going to be characterized by bands of heavy rain, heavy wind, then it's going to back off, and you're going to have these lulls. Then it picks back up. Just the way it's going to work this morning. So that's what I got for you guys this morning. I will be around in and out, but I do have to get some sleep. So we're going to just kind of be up and down, and I'll do my best to keep an eye on everything. And we will be posting throughout the day, and we'll be talking about all the other tropical stuff that's out there once this moves in and out. So that's what I got for you guys this morning. As always, thanks for watching, and have a good one.